Chapter 4. Setting up your worm farm. Now it's time to measure your family's food waste, calculate how many composting worms you need, and determine what size worm bin you need for composting. Your family's food waste. Before you can calculate how many worms you need to track the average amount of veggie food waste that you or your family creates. Following are simple instructions for how to track food waste and conduct a family food waste audit. Collect a day's worth of vegetable food waste that could have been fed to your worm farm. Be sure to collect only the types of food waste that worms can eat. At the end of the collection day, place all the veggie scraps in a plastic bag and weigh it. A small kitchen scale or fish scale works well. Repeat for 1 week, then average the results together. You'll now have your daily average food waste for your household. Number of worms you'll need. Amazingly, red wiggler composting worms eat roughly half their weight every day. So if your daily average food waste is 2 pounds, 907.2 grams, you'll need roughly 4 pounds, 1 kilogram, 814.37 grams of composting worms to eat that amount each day. In this scenario, 4 pounds of worms is your optimal worm herd. Formula for optimal worm herd size. Average daily food waste by weight times 2 equals amount of composting worms by weight. Example: 2 pounds, 907.2 grams of food scraps, 4 pounds, 1 kilogram, 814.37 grams of worms. Size of worm bin you'll need for your optimal worm herd. Assuming that temperature and moisture conditions are ideal and that there's plenty for a worm population to eat, your worm population will expand to the size of its habitat, worm bin and bedding. Composting worms feed in the top inch of worm bedding, so the next step is to calculate how many square feet you need on the surface of your worm bin. 1 pound, 453.59 grams of red wigglers for 1 square foot, 0.09 square meters, of surface area in a worm farm is a good, healthy ratio, 1:1. So if your optimal worm herd is 4 pounds, you'll need a worm farm with at least 4 square feet of surface area. Many plastic storage bins fit this size and make excellent worm farms. Formula for surface area of worm bin. Amount of worms, in pounds, equals surface area in square feet. 453.59 grams of worms equals 0.09 square meters of surface area. Example: 4 pounds of worms, 4 square feet of surface area. Since all of our calculations are based on weight, you don't actually need to know how many worms are in a pound, 453.59 grams. However, just because it's fun to know roughly how many worms are in your worm herd, most worm composters use the estimate of 1,000 worms in 1 pound. Therefore, if you have 4 pounds, 1 kilogram, 814.37 grams of worms in your vermicompost bin, you're feeding around 4,000 worms. In our example so far, you need 4 pounds of composting worms to eat all the food scraps that you and your family produces. To get up to 4 pounds of red worms, you can do one of 2 things. You can buy 4 pounds of composting worms. This is the simplest, but also the most expensive way to reach your optimum worm herd. Another approach is to start your worm farm with a ½ pound or 1 pound of worms and let them reproduce. This is a slower approach, but will save you money.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.